Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Welcome back. SP Tulsen of sptulsen.com is with us. The SGX Nifty is indicating we'll have a start somewhere around 11,400 mark. Mr. Tulsen, good morning. The stock of the day today is going to be HDFC AMC, right? I mean, I remember, your verdict was it's a no-brainer buy. But, very few would get allotment. So the question here is, do you buy it today?
See, Anuj, this is always the case. Whenever we see these kind of IPOs coming in, they get heavily oversubscribed. And yes, you are right that whether we should buy, the dilemma before the investors are that whether we should buy this today or not. Actually, if you really ask me, I'm taking a range of 1400 to 1550. Rather, it will be prudent to wait for the listing to happen and then take a call. But if you just want to have your mind made up before its listing, then below 1400 again, it's a buy it's a no-brainer buy. Go and just buy it. I don't know. I'm not giving much credence to the grey market premium, which has been showing a fluctuation of about 40-50 rupees with a grey market of about maybe 540-550. So that gives you a listing price of maybe about around 1650 also. But that will seem to be too stretched, too aggressive. I won't be comfortable with a beyond a valuation of 1550 for the stock to get what you call valuation continuously on a listed basis. Because remember, similar frenzy we have seen in case of HDFC Standard Life also, and in next month, 1 month or so, we have seen the stock correcting. So this kind of frenzy, initial frenzy, really happens, which is not meant for the investors to buy the stock. So take a range of 1400 to 1550. Below 1400, it's a no-brainer buy. If it is ruling beyond 1550, I will take that as a steep or maybe overvaluation for the stock.
Okay. Mr. Tulsen, I must congratulate you. When we were discussing the pre-IPO, you were telling us that the QIB HNI will be 175 to 200 times. And I couldn't believe any IPO would be subscribed so much. And the actual number is 192. So that was a great call. And yeah, that is getting reflected, I guess, in the grey market premium at this point in time. But your advice is well taken. Just give us 10 seconds, sir, because we should see the market opening. And I think it will be a green opening. That looks like a no-brainer given the way in which SGX Nifty has opened, the way in which we closed. And of course, there are no scares. That's the SGX Nifty, a 0.25% higher. But of course, that's futures. Yeah, the index is opening 1/3% higher. And I think the stocks that we should watch out for should be Titan. Titan is opening 1% higher. But Hero Moto, I think, was a Nomura call that they'll do, that they are going to shift towards Hero Moto. That's opening about 2% higher. And let's look at the HDFC, guys, if there's anything. Okay, at the moment, the parent companies are not doing great. It's just about 1% higher. Any other important stocks?
Suzlon is down 10% in pre-open. That was, I think, the number impact. So that didn't look good. So that's the one to focus on perhaps in the broader market. A couple of these textile stocks are looking interesting. SAIL is going to react to earnings. So that, of course, is going to be interesting one. There's, of course, this market cap battle between Reliance and TCS that is now going to be fascinating. Both very close. I mean, that position has been changing 1 and 2. So Reliance opening higher, lower, TCS opening higher. Let's see how these stocks move there.
There's a Berger, which in the pre-open suggests a positive reaction. Numbers were in line. We can also maybe pull up Divi's. Divi's had a very good quarter, very strong margin expansion for Divi's, 4% up on that stock. Then Reliance Nippon is a little excited ahead of the other big listing of its peer. Laurus Labs was a very weak number. So lots of these tier 2 pharma stocks which have reported over the weekend, they would be in focus from the results standpoint. So that's what seems to stand out right now.
Let me just ask Mr. Tulsen about this textile sector. Over the weekend, CNBC Awaaz broke that news, sir. And of course, it's today the papers as well, that there may be a package for textiles, more FDI and import duty protection that could go up from 5 to 10% to 20%. Is this something that will make you pick some textile stocks?
No, Lata, because if you really see the textile stock segment is all really seen very fragmented, and you see with the integrated players very few one. And in fact, the most fancy or the most liking is now for the ready-mades and the branded segments. You know, maybe very few stocks are existing in that space. Maybe Future Group, Aditya Birla Fashion, Arvind Limited kind of stocks. And in fact, the textile stocks, textile segments have all been given quite a good sops. You know, maybe in the form of tough interest subvention, but the main problem which now they have been facing is the competition from Bangladesh and maybe Philippines kind of things, where the cheap labors is really seen quite problematic. So I honestly, and the cotton prices have seen really rising because of the bad crop last time, you know, and or maybe prior to that they had a bumper time. So I don't think that in this erratic condition it's very difficult to pinpoint and take a call on any specific stock. And the theme of that branded and, you know, like Arvind and all that continues to remain there, which may not get way too much soaps which are expected. So I will not be playing ahead of the announcements to be seen in the form of the soaps to be given by the government to the sector.
Okay, Tulsinson, was a morning, lots of numbers came out. Any thoughts? Divi's, for instance, was strong. Lotus was weak. Walkart has turned EBITDA positive now. KEC, I think Nisha has been telling us the T&D division has been a disappointment. Anything that stood out for you, weekend numbers?
See, Surabhi, I think if I just go by the sector-wise, I think each sector has really cheered in the form of the numbers. First, if I start with the Steel Authority, has really shown excellent numbers with the, probably, you know, maybe if you see the PAT on a sequential basis, that may disappoint you. But if you need to exclude the exceptionals, because in this quarter Q1 there has been exceptional loss of 278 crores, and in Q4 there was an exceptional profit of 380 crores. But if I go by the EBITDA has increased from 7,000 to 8,200 crore, 200 rupees per ton. So steel has really shown very good numbers coming on the chlor-alkali, caustic soda industries. In fact, we have seen very good numbers coming in from DCM Shriram Industries, and Gujarat Alkali, which is the largest producer, that has really cheered again with excellent numbers. And again, similar is the case, the other income, in spite of the lower other income, the sequential profitability, the margins has all been maintained. Coming specifically again now on the auto ancillary, Magna Electro Castings and the one more, that is Rico Auto, have really cheered again on the margin fronts. If you really see the expansion for Rico Auto, they have a very good order flow of 1400 crore with a total order book of about 4000 crore with an annual top line of about 1500 crore. So that is seen quite good. In Magna, as I said, that foundry, they have the foundry main business, that has done really very well. KEC, yes, you are right, KEC International, and in fact in auto ancillary, Sandhar Technology has again done quite well. Yes, coming on the KEC International, even they have performed very well. If you really see the PBT having risen to 135 crore from 96 crore on a YOY basis, almost a growth of about 40-45% is really seen quite cheerful. ENIL amongst the radio, FM radio business, they have shown very good numbers. Berger Paints again have been a standout. Amongst the shrimp farmings and all that, water base has shown very good numbers, so one can keep an eye on the Avanti feeds also. And apart from that, in the auto ancillary, again, you know, adding similar name is the Bharat Gear. So I think mainly if you really see the theme going forward, auto ancillary, chlor-alkali and steel, these three really stand out to be very good. And in fact, we are waiting to see the numbers of Jindal Steel and Power and Tata Steel also. So let's keep a watch on that also, taking cue from the Steel Authority numbers, sale numbers.
Fair point, sir. We will, of course, discuss all these stocks in greater detail with you on Closing Bell. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. You know, the currency is interesting in spite of the fact that the dollar index has strengthened 95.25, and the Chinese yuan was, at least the initial fixing was lower. The rupee remains unperturbed, and that's because of the rate hike. That's the confidence that the rate hike gave to investors that, you know, this is going to be an inflation targeting central bank. So that's made people very strong on the rupee. I'm not very sure that's very good from an economy standpoint and import-export standpoint, but that's a different matter. A stability assurance has been given and the rupee is strong. On that note, currencies and commodities with Manisha Gupta. Morning, Manisha.
Morning, Lata. Thank you so much for that. Starting with the currency currency space itself, as you mentioned, we have seen the US dollar strengthen. So the euro is trading at a 5-week lows. And as you said, the Chinese yuan, which started the day at around 14-month lows, has turned around a bit as China seems to be taking more steps to ensure or induce more liquidation into the market, also stimulus, etc. That, of course, is the case in the global markets there. But if you look at the metal space, that has seen a bit of a pressure come in or continue. One, of course, is the tit for tat that seems to be coming in from China, seems to be hanging strong into the international market. So we have started copper, zinc, nickel, all of those metals in the negative in the early Asian markets today. What is trading positive is really the crude oil price is 0.5% higher right now, and that is because it's August 6th today, and today is then when the first detailing comes in from US in sense of Iran sanctions. So ahead of that, markets have seen some gain come in. Remember, the deadline for the Iran sanctions really is 4th of November. That is when the countries and the allies of US have been told to stop buying crude from Iran. So much of that procedure or process really starts from today. Apart from that, there also is decline from Saudi Arabia in sense of output. The US rig count has declined for a 3rd straight week, and that in turn also seems to be supportive. So this week has started positive when it comes to energy.
Okay, Manisha, thanks a lot for that. So that's Brent crude 73.5. Udin Mukherjee is with us now. Udin, good morning. Last time I spoke to you, the markets were at all-time high. Didn't feel like all-time high though. The last 2 weeks have been different. There's been a broader participation in the market. Your thoughts on that?
Morning, Anuj. It is indeed. In the last 10 days, mid-caps and small caps have bounced back. And I mean, in a sense, it was inevitable because this could not have continued for very much longer. The fact that 5 or 6 stocks were driving the index, the rest of the market was languishing. In any case, mid-caps had fallen 20% plus, and they were ripe for a bounce. So it's been interesting the last 10 days, and I think the market would be in a much better mood right now. The last time you're correct in pointing out that it did not feel like an all-time high. Even now, I think there's a lot of catch-up to do from the smaller stocks, but at least a start has been made. I think some things technically have also turned around a bit. The fact that FI selling has abated. In fact, there have been inflows over the last 10 days or so. That on the margin has alleviated some of the technical pressure on the market. So yes, I think the start of the earnings season or the first couple of earnings season has heralded a better kind of a framework for the market. And the Nifty still doesn't look like it is done with this up move because we had a 100-point kind of a dip which got bought so quickly that it appears that the momentum is still favoring the bulls for the near term.
Good morning, Uday, and always good to have you with us. You're sporting a green tie, so is Anuj. I mean, there is this bull's unstoppable feeling, both globally as well as in India. Does it feel like 2004, 2005?
We've discussed this many times, Lata. But the circumstances were slightly different out there, and but many things are very different from 2004 and now. So the key, I think, is going to be earnings because the starting valuations are quite elevated right now. So it's very difficult to envisage the market skyrocketing like it did over the 3-year period or 4-year period then. So I think our return expectations should not be that elevated from this kind of starting level. So it would be very surprising if the market just sort of doubled or trebled in the next 3 years or so from here on. For that, earnings will have to really surprise on the way up. The earnings season this time, if you look at it from a granular level, has been encouraging. There is no doubt about that. Overall, at a composite level, I think we are still weak because some disappointment or the other is taking away from the Nifty. Sometimes it's ICICI, sometimes it's SBI, sometimes it's Tata Motors. So I think you will still see a lot of downgrades at the end of this earnings season. You may have seen them already. So we are not at pegging away at 20-25% earnings growth yet because of these big disappointments. But if you look below that, I think there have been enough encouraging news this time around from earnings season. So I'm keeping fingers crossed for the next couple of weeks to see if we can end it feeling much better than we did at the end of Q4.
Okay, well then stay on. We just need to address the market opening. I mean, it's opened 40 points higher in pre-open and the Bank Nifty 75 point higher. Ashwini, your thoughts on pre-open and what would be your 9-10 call?
The call is the same. You're opening at, after a big rally, another 40 points higher. So you have to wait for 20-30 point dip at least to buy. And 9-10, I would probably go with Axis Bank because that rally started just on Friday. So any sort of dip, if you get there, that's a buy with a stop of 570, target of 625. Today, should be a broadly up day, but with a bit more volatility than we had on Friday.
Okay, Udayan, good morning. We have a very interesting listing at an interesting time. I'm talking about HDFC, AMC, when the mood is back, buoyant, markets at all-time highs. Just your thoughts on the AMC space as well in general, because we've got some other listed plays. I mean, partially in Aditya Birla Capital, Reliance, Nippon. That stock kind of fell off the doldrums. But anyway, how do you look at AMCs and specifically HDFC?
Surabhi, it's important to understand the construct of the market right now. I think there is an extreme premium that people are willing to pay for quality and pedigree. That much is clear about if you look at the kind of performance of stocks that we've had this year, particularly in the last two or 3 months. Now, HDFC ticks off all these boxes. Great parentage, excellent pedigree, proven track record. And there is no comparison between Reliance AMC and HDFC AMC on those parameters. So whatever you want to ascribe in terms of earnings growth for any of these two stocks, the PE multiple will be vastly different, because in the PE all these things go in, which is your pedigree, parentage, management quality, etc. And I think HDFC will always command a huge premium to Reliance AMC because of the ownership of these, or the disparity in ownership between these two groups. But having said that, it's a good space. It's growing at 20% plus. Return on equity for HDFC AMC particularly is very good. The only wrinkle, and I'm nitpicking out here, is that these stocks are coming into the market at a time when the mood on AMCs as a business and mutual funds is probably at the peak that we have ever seen. Everybody understands it's a great theme. SIPs are taking off. It's underpenetrated. And therefore, the chance of exuberant valuations are very high. And HDFC particularly, because everybody will want to own that stock as the marquee one in that space. So I'm not saying that the stock will tank after listing at 1600 or wherever today, but is today the best day to own the stock or buy the stock? Perhaps not, because these stocks also tend to be a bit cyclical. Right now it's an upcycle, and sometimes you'll find it at a bit of a down cycle and at slightly moderated valuations, and those might be better times to accumulate this theme, good pedigree, but I think it will probably trade, at least for the near term, at fairly frothy valuations.
Okay. Yes, that it indeed is, especially if it lists at the grey market whisper price of 1600 rupees. It would look very, very elevated. But we'll wait for that. At the moment, markets are looking like they will open in a fine spot. 11,400 appears to have been scaled going by the pre-market, pre-opening rates. And it's an across-the-board rally with a 0.4%, quarter to two-thirds of a percentage point higher on any indices, any index you pick at this point in time. So even the banks leading the charge at this point, that's always very good for the markets. That's always very good for the markets when that sector takes leadership.